There's no shame in business. If you're trying to get to the next level, shame is on the other side. The most shameless people, actually.
Niyi is the brilliant mind behind Novice Kitchen. What started initially as a kitchen table idea has grown into a fast-scaling condiment company with sources now on the shelves of Selfridges, Ocado, and plenty of dinner tables. How are you finding content and creation?
It does get pretty draining. I've just given up on trying to figure out what the algorithm is. What my goal for the whole business is to help anybody who's a novice in the kitchen have a better time in the kitchen. I'm not trying to create the next viral content.
How did you push through some of the early doubts when you started Novice Kitchen?
Being naive. I had no prior food industry knowledge. Being naive allowed me to just be like, I can do that. You just got to throw yourself in at the deep end and realize that you're going to have to learn along the way and always say yes. And then you figure out after.
You know what they say, opportunity and preparation is success.
I'm definitely a believer in timing. I was a runner. I've
Actively,
hustled to try and even get a foot in the door. Like I've stalked so many buyers for the product. The amount of emails I've emailed, things that I've done just to try and get my foot in the door. It might not happen for you today. It might not happen for you tomorrow. It might happen for you in 10 years. You just have to keep trying.
What has been your hardest novice moment as a founder? Hey real ones, and welcome to a new episode of Rayo with Rayo. I'm Rayo, and today I have a special guest, Niyi Olopade. Niyi is the brilliant mind behind Novice Kitchen. What started initially as a kitchen table idea has grown into a fast-scaling condiment company with sources now on the shelves of Selfridges, Ocado, and plenty of dinner tables, and they're also right here. Niyi has collaborated with Soho House, McCain's, Tesco, Fresh Fitness Food, and even picked up a 3-star Great Taste Award. He's been nominated for the Why Hungry Foodie Hero Award, hosted supper clubs, and shared his craft on Mob, Kitchen, and Soho House stages. Today, we're going to dive into the journey of turning curiosity into craft and what it takes to build a food business from scratch and what it really means to transition from novice to master.
That is a good intro. Wow. When you were saying all these things, I was like, okay, I did. That sounds familiar. That sounds interesting. Yeah. Honestly, when you're in the middle of all of this stuff all the time, you literally forget. And it's nice to like hear it back and you're like, actually, that's pretty cool that you've done some stuff. So thank you for that intro. That's pretty good.
You're very welcome. And I think it's also important that you know how great you're doing and you're also taking in all the great accolades and achievements you're building.
I'm trying to. I need to make sure I start taking it all in. And not well. I guess I'm technically living in the moment, but yeah, appreciating that a little bit more. So that was very good. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're so welcome. We're going to play a little game.
Okay.
Are you a novice or a master? It's going to be a quick fire game. I will give different scenarios and you'll tell me where you stand, either novice or master.
Okay. Let's go. I'm ready.
Let's go. Chopping onions without crying.
Master. Although, I don't think I've cried cutting onions in years now. But when I started the business, I used to basically cut everything by hand. So I like mastered it. But then yesterday, I was because we're just about to launch a new product. I had to make a small batch for sampling today, and I don't know what these onions that I bought were, and probably it's the first time, and I couldn't knock the tears off for about a good 10 minutes.
Oh my god!
So I have no idea what these atomic onions that I bought were, but they were crazy, and I had to do quite a lot of them. So I would actually say 99% of the time I'm a master, considering the first time I've cried in like years doing that. So yeah, master.
It just means the sauce is going to be fire. So.
Exactly. Bring tears to your eyes.
Oh. Okay, baking without a recipe.
I'm not a baker. I'm not a baker. I mainly bake when I have supper clubs. When I get booked for events, then I bake. So I can bake, but I don't bake often. It would be if let's say I have 12 supper clubs in a year, I'll probably bake 15 times in the whole year, which is not that much considering I cook every day. But I can do it. but yeah, not a master. Novice.
Pitching your business in under 1 minute.
Mastered it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Delegating tasks instead of doing everything yourself.
Novice. Novice.
We spoke a little bit about
yeah,
that.
a complete novice. Yeah, we spoke earlier about the amount of things that I'm sort of doing at the same time. But at this stage, I've got to get better at delegating, which is a key focus for me this year, getting other people involved. And for me, actually, I think at the moment, because I'm doing a lot myself, I do really actually prefer delegating, which is why I have people that a lot of them are sort of freelance. But I enjoy delegating. My whole goal is to do the parts of the business that I really enjoy. And I think a lot of founders get in this weird situation where, because it's your baby, you focus a lot on growing the business. But when you do a lot of things yourself, there's inadvertently going to be parts of the business where you don't like anyway.
Yeah.
So if you're continuously doing that part of the business that you really don't like, you start to resent your business in a weird way. So once you delegate better, you can focus on where your skills are, and then you can just get people who are better than you to do the bits that you're not so good at.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a key part for me, for sure.
Yeah, I love that, and I can totally relate. Handling rejection from investors or clients.
I'm a pro.
Really?
I'm an expert. This is my bread and butter, because every single day you get rejected, and especially in the line of work that I'm in, specifically in the FMCG world, when you're reaching out to buyers, you are rejected more times than you're accepted. And for me, I guess I can tell you a story. You basically have to be a glorified stalker if you want to be listed with retailers. For example, for us to be listed in Ocado, it was like a 2-year process of me literally reaching out to the buyer every quarter, updating them with what I was up to, trying to get meetings, basically for 2 years, until eventually they were like, okay, right, we see the progress from where the business was. It looked like a farm shop product to now having this branding, the way it's looking, that your stock is okay, you can actually be listed with us. And I was pretty much rejected every quarter for 2 years, until eventually you get told yes. So you have to realize that actually it's just business. They're not and at the end of the day, they also have 100 people like me emailing them all the time. So rejection is just part of it. And I'm a big believer in timing. So whenever the timing is right is whenever the timing is right, really. You could just, as long as you're ready for the moment and the opportunity to come, then you just got to strike whilst the iron's hot, really.
Yeah. Knowing your numbers, so like your profit margins.
Bad. Well, I mean, I work hard on that, but I'm not very good, because I'm a little bit dyscalculic, so I'm not good with numbers, full stop. So I mean, we've got an accountant that does most of that stuff anyway now. So I just try and avoid as much of it as possible, but you've got to be on top of it to grow a business and see where the marginal gains can be made, especially now that everything is so expensive. It's really difficult for you to find little bits and pieces, which is why I guess our business model works, because we can supplement cash flow problems through supper clubs, and just finding those margins there, because margins in these products, they're good, but once you start including wholesaler margins, retail margins, fees, all those sort of things, then it adds up. So you have to find different ways to balance it.
No, I always find it so impressive when I'm watching Dragon's Den and people come in and they start pitching and they know all the numbers, and I'm like,
but that's rehearsed, really.
It must be, but then also it's, you can tell that sometimes even when they've rehearsed, they've just like stumbled across it when they ask questions that are challenging what they've proposed. And you know, when they start doing like all the maths, and I'm just like, okay, you've lost me, like this is crazy.
It is. I think they also, the judges as well, they do it to not sort of intimidate you, but to just test your knowledge. But you have a long time to practice and try and understand your numbers. So I would say it's good to know your numbers, for sure. You have to be on top of them.
Celebrating small wins.
Novice. I'm not very good at that. I try to be, I'm now really trying to be better at it. Which is why even with the intro earlier, I was like, oh wow, that's quite cool. But I tried to be, because even again, because you're so ingrained in every day trying to find ways to grow it, it's really tricky to celebrate it. But I'm making a really conscious effort now to really celebrate the brand. And I think over the next few months, you start seeing a huge difference in the way the brand is elevating and developing because of trying to make more sense of celebrating the little wins. But you'll start seeing that over a couple of months for sure.
I feel like this is good timing. I don't know why, but I feel like you have some exciting stuff.
Yeah, I definitely do. I'm working hard on some. It's going to be a whole change in the way the brand is perceived, I think, going forward. So I've been working hard on doing that. We're shooting all the sort of stuff on Sunday, so should be a big change.
Nice. Networking without it feeling awkward.
I'm a novice until somebody comes to talk to me.
Same.
Yeah. I'm a novice until someone comes.
I'm not really good at initiating, but then once we've started the conversation, I'm like, okay, I can do this.
Exactly. Yeah. But you have to now, though. You have to network, and I've just forced myself now to go to more networking things and put myself out there for sure. Because contrary to people who might know me, I'm like a mix of like an introvert, extrovert, really. So, and obviously in the line of work that I'm doing, where there's a lot of work on camera, people just expect you to always be exactly sort of like that, but it's not the case. But again, another thing that I forced myself to do when I'm at events is now I look at it, just try and approach networking events like you're an American person.
That's do that.
Yeah, you just gotta approach it. You just gotta pretend every time. You gotta get into character, just like when you get into character presenting this on your networking nights. Pretend you're an American because they've got no shame from that perspective, and which is true. And
it's celebrated as well. When you put yourself forward and you're unapologetic about what you do, they actually love that. Like, they eat it up.
Correct. There's no shame in business.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to make money, if you're trying to get to the next level, shame is on the other side, as they say. So you gotta put yourself out there, and the most shameless people, actually, I'm joking.
Okay. Final one: pairing flavors like a pro.
I'll say not a novice. Yeah, I'm pretty good at that now. Yeah. Because you imagine a lot of the flavors. So for example, the Malaysian sambal, I've imagined the flavors for months before I actually first of all tested the recipes. And once you've cooked like as often as I have now, you sort of imagine flavors that will work together. They don't obviously always work together well, but you know close enough where by the time you get to the pan, it's a relatively quick process.
Nice. So if you had to call yourself one in this very moment in life, a novice or a master, what would you say?
A novice, because I'm still trying to learn every day. So a novice, because there's definitely people that are significantly better than me at different parts of my business or the way my business is run anyway. So at the moment, a novice, but working to become a master.
Touche. Yeah. Very well said. Okay, so let's go back to your childhood.
Okay.
When did you first realize cooking was something that you enjoyed?
So, I mean, I always tell people this story, but I've not always been a foodie per se, because actually as a child, I used to spend quite a lot of time traveling around with my dad, and he was really, really keen that I learn about loads of different cultures through food. And most of the time I actually didn't really like it. And I would be like at the dinner table crying my eyes out.
Really? Who cries at the dinner table?
I was like, and he was like, you're going to eat this. I don't care. And we'd be in a restaurant anywhere. Like, I remember we would be in Hungary, for example, be eating. And he's like, you're not leaving until you eat this. And so that sort of stuff. But then over time, I sort of got an appreciation of different cultures. I started to learn about food a little bit more. And during the school holidays, I would practice with my sister, would sort of learn different recipes. And then I just sort of built up all these skill sets over the years. But then in the last let's say 3-4 years is when I really started taking it a little bit more seriously. Before, it was just a little bit of fun, because I wanted to sort of be like a TV chef. But I think actually at the time when I was working in TV, I probably didn't have the skill set. But in your head as a 21-year-old, 20-year-old, whatever it was, you're convinced that
you know everything.
You know everything, that you're God's gift, whatever. But actually now in hindsight, as a little bit older, I've now picked up all those skills that I might have been missing back then. So now I'm a little bit more professional. So I think over I would say the last 3-4 years, I've got more confidence in my ability because I've been learning a little bit more. I've been practicing a bit more. So I would say that's probably when I've realized that actually maybe I'm gaining more establishment within the industry. There's still a long way to go.
Yeah.
But I think I've got the good foundations now where I think I can hold my own in different sort of arenas around the food industry, either through the products, because a lot of my foodie friends who are content creators, they ask me for advice on how to create products, on how to get to the next stage of their development or evolution within the food industry. Whereas I have food business friends that reach out to me on how to get to because obviously content is king now, and how to create content within their own space. So I'm in this weird middle intersection between both sort of parts of the food industry, whereas I'm still trying to figure both sides out myself. So yeah, I would say right now I feel more confident within that space is when I sort of, now is when I'm feeling like I'm more into it, to answer your question.
And when did you realize this could be a business?
Probably around maybe, because initially started more as like a content page. Actually, it was just to help people, educate people.
It's like uni students, right?
Well, I started a food page at uni. That's quite good. Did you research that?
Of course.
Okay, I started a food page at university called Cooking for Students. That was a bad page, but that was when social media was just very early stages. Like Instagram wasn't really a thing. Not that I'm old, but like it was, people weren't really using Instagram like that. So that was called Cooking
It wasn't
for
content driven. It was more so like sharing
with
pictures.
My friends. I was just like, this is what I ate today. This is how you cook this, blah, blah, blah. I actually found the page the other day, which is kind of funny. It was decent.
It's still there.
It's still there. I thought I deleted it. I just looked it up. I was like doing some presentation. I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, this page is still here. I kept it up anyway.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, I just left it. But so I guess that was the initial entry point into the food world. And then after uni, I sort of forgot about it for a little bit. And then after COVID, I then started Novice Kitchen, but as an opportunity to educate people about food, just teach them easy recipes. And then I realized actually, if I can create some products that can act as cooking aids to help people who aren't amazing at cooking, but they want to have an easy, enjoyable time in the kitchen, they can just add a couple teaspoons of this, and then there was a little bit of an element of cultural enlightenment with the product. So all our products are inspired by travel. So I try and go to different countries, learn about the food, learn about the culture, learn about the people, and then I try and create the product. But then I try and create supper clubs, events. So if you, for example, if you've been to Malaysia, if you've been to Bali, we want our products to remind you of those countries. But if you've never been, we want to educate you and inspire you to want to learn about those countries and then go to those countries, visit, and just expand your horizon a little bit. So that's sort of where the inspiration has come from. So yeah, that's what I would say.
That's so beautiful. I love that you incorporate travel into food, and it's been a really nice story that it's linked to when your dad was taking you on like holidays, and when what initially was actually I don't want to do this has transformed into a creative inspiration with your product. It's a full 360, and I think it just shows it's like divinely led.
Exactly. And I think when you put it that way, again, it's sort of something that's now sticking when you analyze it that way. So yeah, it definitely it tracks. You're right, for sure.
Yeah. How did you push through some of the early doubts when you started Novice Kitchen?
Being naive. And I think that's probably the best thing that you can have as an adult wanting to start a business or anything in life, really. And to some extent, I'm pretty streetwise, but when I want to be naive, I can easily be naive because it allows me to throw myself into things like this. For example, I had no prior food industry knowledge. But again, being naive allowed me to just be like, I can do that because I'm looking at it from a different perspective. And in addition, obviously getting help from different people who have industry knowledge. But I would say the biggest skill, and it's the underrated skill, is just being naive and thinking that you can do it. There's obviously a clear line between arrogance and naivety, or in my case. So I've just gone with the idea of, you know what, what's the worst that can happen? Like, nothing really bad is going to happen. You just got to throw yourself in at the deep end and realize that you're going to have to learn along the way, and always say yes. And then you figure out after, they're like, oh, Nee, can you feed 1,000 people? I'm like, yeah. I never fed 1,000 people, but I was like, I'll figure it out. And then we ended up doing it, and the feedback was amazing. And it was just mainly being naive and figuring it out and putting in the hours of waking up, I don't know, like 4 a.m. every day for like a week. But it wasn't a difficult thing to do, because you just always have stuff to do anyway. The difficult part was like your feet hurt after a week of doing that, and that's not the worst thing, you know. You know what I mean? So I think being naive and saying yes and just going full out and trying your best.
And what was the transition from studying real estate at uni to then deciding, actually, this is going to be my job?
Well, this is funny. I mean, my dad would probably laugh at this, but I think real estate was always like a backup thing for me, to be honest. Because actually the goal was to become a TV presenter, but I wanted to be a TV presenter from a chef perspective. But I wanted to always travel, create like films, documentaries, that sort of stuff. So after university, I ended up working in TV for a few years, but also doing stuff in radio, interviewing people here and there. But so that sort of gave me the idea of leaning towards that. And then after a few years within the TV industry, because I was super young, I was like, okay, do you know what, I'm going to try and create my own brand, create my own authority within the industry, and then maybe they'll call me back to be a TV chef, who knows. So it's just sort of like a goal that I've been working towards for a few years, and it's just aligned the fact that I've created the product alongside this. It's just been something, I guess, divine intervention that's aligned, but it's been what I've been planning and working towards for years. It's been like, I've sort of had it in my mood board. Okay, this year I want to get a regular thing. This year, this is the goal. I want to get a regular show, blah blah. And maybe I've even posted it on TikTok as like my New Year's resolution. And then maybe it doesn't happen. It didn't happen last year, and then sort of working towards it again this year, the same thing. So the real estate thing was always going to be, if this doesn't work out for me, I'll have my property degree to fall back on. But obviously, technically now my knowledge of the property industry is obsolete, because I didn't have absolutely no idea. I couldn't tell you how to value a commercial property. I just know the basics of like how you do it, but I could not tell you exactly how to do it, you know. So I think now it's just, this is the arena that I'm going to be playing in, so I want to maximize my potential within that space.
I love that you spoke on manifestation and visualizing some of the goals that you have for yourself. Is that something you do on a yearly basis?
Not manifesting per se. I would say these is like, I guess you call it manifesting, but I don't look at it as like manifesting. But technically falls into that arena. But
was it just a vision board?
This has always been a vision, but this has always been a goal and a dream of mine. And everything I've sort of done within, I don't know, work, within connecting with people, I've always tried to align it within these goals of creating these amazing condiments and growing the brand to this level, but also supplementing that through becoming like a TV chef. So those things have always been aligned for me. It's always been a goal. I haven't always known exactly how I'm going to get to that, but every opportunity that I've noticed that might get me to that point, I've tried to grab with both hands and try to pick up skills along the way. So picking up skills can be, let's say, doing a 3-week stage at a restaurant to learn skills from that, and then doing a different cuisine at different points in my life, rather than just teaching myself how to cook, because you need a little bit of experience and just understanding, because the skill set is a little bit different when you work in a restaurant. So doing this at 3 intervals, maybe 2 months, if I'm really enjoying it, just to learn as much as I can. So when the opportunity does arrive, I'm actually definitely in the position to take it, and I'm not feeling like a novice in that space, you know?
You know what they say, opportunity and preparation is success. So you've been doing the work for so long, and I remember seeing a quote that said, it seems like nothing happens for a really long time, and then all of a sudden everything happens at once.
Fact, I think so. I really do believe that. Actually, I'm definitely a believer in timing, and I think it's quite funny. I was speaking to one of my friends the other day, and I was like, I think I'm gonna be one of those people that people are gonna be like, oh, he's just the overnight success. But I was like, I think I might. Which is kind of, when it so dawned on me, and I was like, damn, like that's kind of crazy to think that that people might actually think that that's gonna be it. But obviously people who have followed me or who know, they're gonna be like, no way, because I've been like, I was a runner, I've hustled to try and even get a foot in the door. Like I've stalked so many buyers for the products. Like I've reached out, the amount of emails I've emailed buyers, the amount of things that I've done just to try and get my foot in the door from both sides. So I think, but then it'll be funny, but obviously I don't care. But I just remember thinking, I was like, I want like an overnight success. You're not gonna think yourself as like, oh, you're gonna be one of those people. But it made me laugh, because I thought that's kind of funny that I don't know. Or maybe people won't think that. Maybe they will see for what it is.
And I think that's the good thing about being in a digital age, is some of the work you've done, or all the work you've done, documents itself, right? So even the Instagram page you had that you made at uni, people can actually go back and see that.
That's true.
And people can go back and see all the content, and they can just see a track record of everything you've done. So although it might be like one thing or one opportunity that just propelled everything, the work is still there. It has just compounded into this perfect moment. It's the same thing with artists, because I remember when Ray blew up, and everyone was like, Ray, oh my gosh. She's like, no, she's been making music
around.
So, Sabrina Carpenter as well, Victoria Monet. There's so many artists that they've had a hit song, and all of a sudden, even Doechii, seems like everything's happening at this exact moment, but the real ones know. And it's really good that you can go back and watch. Like with Doechii, she did a YouTube diary on The Artist Way, which is a book that talks about like the spiritual art of creativity. And it's really beautiful watching that back, because she was documented how she was challenging herself creatively, but also talking about where she was at in her life and speaking her life now into existence. And things like that just really inspire me. And I love that people can actually go back and watch it and be like, wow. Like even with you, when whatever happens, that it's like an overnight success or whatever, or people newly discover you, they can go back and watch this and be like, this is what Niyi has done to get to the point he has, and he's actually very well versed in his industry and deserves it.
See, that's why I'm a real believer in timing, actually. Because you might think, again, this goes back to when I was so confident and so sure that I was ready for this opportunity. But I guess people in the position of power, they might see and be like, he's not ready. But I think the timing element is, or you might, for example, I could even give you like Skype. Skype were way ahead of their time.
That's so true.
But now we're Skype. Zoom. Like it's all about timing, you know? So sometimes there's so many different factors that play, but you just got to make sure that you are ready whenever that time is.
What happened to Skype? Sorry,
I think they've just run out. They're just over. Like I think I saw an article maybe last year. They closed down.
I used to love Skype. I would be on their midnight calls. Like
there you go. See, now look. So it's just time, and you just have to. It might not happen for you today. It might not happen for you tomorrow. It might happen for you in 10 years. But that's just, if you really want to be there in 10 years, whatever, you just have to keep. And this is not saying that, like, you can still be having a normal job. You can still be pursuing your dreams at the same time, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. But you just have to have that sort of level of patience that it might not be now, and you don't know when it's going to be. You just have to keep trying to whenever that time arrives. And that's, I genuinely believe that with everything that I have.
Yeah. Beautiful. So you've grown Novice Kitchen into what was initially an idea to now full-on business that you are scaling. And what I find particularly fascinating about this is cooking in itself is like a creative passion. It has elements of creativity, but then with the business side, you do have logistics and operations and marketing and so many other things that almost like you have to tap into like a different side of your brain for. How do you balance those different realms in business?
See, I'll give you this answer in like a two-pronged version. So initially I was writing my investment deck, and I was speaking to my sister about it, and we were just going through the deck. And I remember saying to her, I was like, look, I don't perceive myself as a CEO per se. And she was like, you need to change that way of thinking, because at the end of the day, it is what you are. You can be a CEO because that is what you're doing at the moment. Because obviously I see myself, I've created all of these things and I've done a lot of these things by myself. But CEOs come in different way, like there's not one way a CEO should look. But in the past I've maybe considered a CEO like someone who's like Barclays, or someone who's leading the business from that side of things. But CEOs have different things. Like Gwyneth Paltrow is a completely different CEO to I don't know, like let's say Oprah. She's a completely different CEO. So people can have different things. And I actually asked Nick Jones, it was a quick a talk thing, and I asked him that question you've just asked me.
Oh really?
Because I said to him pretty much the same question, because obviously people are left-brained, right-brained, and then he was like, I think you're probably a bit of both, because you have the creative side of it and you've managed to run that. So that sort of gave me a little bit more of a confidence from that side of things. So I would say how I now find the way to marry both those parts of myself is just trying to delegate better, because there's definitely people who are more operationally sound and minded than I am, and I'm more creative than they are. But if we can marry that together, then you have an amazing business. So that's why I try and find people that can really fit that mold and cover your blind spots. So that's really my goal. So that's how I try and find it all together, because I think if it was still me trying to keep running it the same way forever, it probably won't be a success. You have to bring people in who are way better than you, and you have to just delegate better, which is what we go back to at the start of the conversation.
And how do you vet these people to be right for your business?
I mean, that's a really tricky question, because you get burnt a lot, but you can't let that sort of deter your trust levels. You have to build a relationship with people, and I try and I mean, I know people say don't work too much with friends, but now I lean on friends who have serious industry knowledge. I have a friend who's an operation person, like a director of operations. So when I have any operations led issues, I lean on him for advice. So I think you could never really know what people are always going to, when you interview people, they're always going to give you their best foot 100%, forward.
It's like a first date. It's like you meet someone and like I'm not going to tell you, oh, by the way, this is my trauma and these are my triggers and all of that.
People do though. People be doing that.
Oh, I don't know.
People be doing that. People say that. So I think you're right. You can never really know what people are gonna be like, but you have to just trust your gut instinct. And I like to think I'm a great judge of character. But you do get burnt regardless, whatever it is. So you can't let that be a determining factor with all your decision making, because at the end of the day, you need to work with people, full stop. But in terms of vetting, I think, I mean, I don't want to say you just go off vibes, but to be honest, you kind of have to go off vibes.
That's all you have. It's just energy.
As a startup as well, you have to, I guess from a startup perspective, they have to be agile. And I've had scenarios where people are experts within their field, but that doesn't translate necessarily to the startup world, because they're putting in processes that are designed for big businesses. Whereas as a startup, to compete, you need to be agile and things need to change within a day. Whereas you're not going to go through processes the same way as a big company.
Yeah.
So that's where the balance has to be from. That would be the big thing that I'd look at, is that are they going to try and bring too much industry, too much old school knowledge into this, or are they going to be willing to diversify their way of thinking to match a startup life? Then you need to decide from that.
Yeah. It's interesting that you spoke about working with friends and how sometimes some people have this preconceived notion that it's a recipe for disaster. And it's even the same thing when people say like, oh, don't live with your friends. Like, I lived with one of my best friends and was still good. And even with working with friends, I prefer it as well, because I also think if someone is next to me that can do something, I would rather hire them than hire an external person. But also, when you're building something, I think there's an element of like energy and like trust. And when you have a rapport with someone, that's already a great foundation. So sometimes that rapport, if it's a good scenario, it can translate into you building something even better, because there's that foundation of mutual understanding and skill, which is great. So I like that you actually said that, because sometimes people are just opposed to it from the onset, but I think there's potential there if it's right.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a thing. People do. I mean, people also don't always hire your friends, because then you're just going off vibes because you're in a situation to hire your friends. Your friends might not respect that working relationship as much. So it is a fine balance. It's just, you got to have your wits about you. And people also, I mean, going into business with your friends also can be really bad, because there's obviously, you hear a lot of horror stories of people who fall out with their business partners. So, you know, yeah, you never know. Again, like I said, you also can't let that always be a determining factor. Otherwise, you never get stuff done, you know.
How do you stay inspired while running all the different aspects of your business?
This is a balancing act, and it's something that I've been figuring out recently, because the reason I say it's a balancing act is because in the content creation world plus the product side of the business, you have to look to other people for inspiration, in the sense that not watching what they're doing in terms like to get jealous, but looking at what they're doing and being like, oh, this is a great idea, what can I do with it? Or just seeing what people are doing that you find is creative, or people that you're interested in that you find are inspiring. They could either be equals, like either content creators, or they could be people who are already where you're trying to get to. So that's a key part into sort of trying to get inspiration, I would say. Looking at other people, but also not looking at other people to compare.
Right.
There's a really fine balance in that, because in the world that we're in now with social media, it's so easy to be like, oh my god, they're exactly where I want to be, and then you want to put yourself down. Or so it's a really, really fine balance in that. You need to, how I see it is that when I'm looking at people who are necessarily are either doing better, quote unquote, or they're where I'm trying to get to, I look at it from an area of inspiration, and you want to cheer them on as well, because it's where you're trying to get to. I think that's how I that's what I look at it as, from my perspective. And then there was this, sorry, can you remind me of the question again? Just
no, it's just inspiration, really.
Inspiration,
while running your business, because you're wearing so many hats as well to maintain the day-to-day function, that there's still an element of like inspiration that I believe still should be invested in, in order to scale as well, and also not suck all the like fun out of it.
I mean, you're right, it's so easy to, because again, like what I was saying at the start, is that you're in the business so much, like your head is down, everything you're focusing on is trying to grow this business like desperately. You can get inspiration from so many different things. I try and get inspiration, and maybe what I should start doing in the future is taking inspiration maybe from things I've already done. Like what you've given me some inspiration today. I'm like, okay, you get some more confidence into what you're doing. But I think a big part of me is how I take inspiration, for sure, is definitely through sort of friends, people who are where I'm trying to get to. those are the real key thing. And I guess I have quite big goals in general. I have really big goals of what I want to achieve. So that's a big inspiration for me personally. Like looking at the goals that I want to get to. Yeah, for me, it's huge.
How are you finding content creation? Because I know you said earlier on that content is king now, and with food, it's a visual thing as well, which you do excellently. I was saying to you that
thank you.
When I'm on your page, I'm literally like, I need to eat this right now. I'm like,
thank you.
I wish I could literally just order it and have it as I'm scrolling through. But how do you balance that and, you know, still maintaining the level of professionalism while running your business, but also being fun and creative and trying new things? Because you like try different things to switch up your content.
Yeah. I have to, because really, it does get pretty draining, to be honest. And when I feel like the content side of things are draining, I've just given up on trying to figure out what the algorithm is. And what I've just decided now, my thing is, I will just create content when I have inspiration. If I have a great idea and I'm like, I can't stop thinking about the idea, that's when like it's the perfect spot. But what the problem is actually is that because you're chasing this algorithm a lot, you then try and create content that's focused on the algorithm, and that's not really what I'm trying to do. Because at the end of the day, what my goal for the whole business is to help anybody who's a novice in the kitchen have a better time in the kitchen. I'm not trying to create the next viral content, and that's when that was a real mentality shift for me. So now I just create stuff that I'm genuinely interested in, stuff that I think will really help people. And then I guess the third part of it is now stuff that I can use the products for. So a lot of the recipes are now tailored towards what they can use the products to, because at the end of the day, I need to intertwine the whole business together, because otherwise there's this disconnect, which is what I was saying to you about now going forward. There's going to be a real switch up in the way the brand is going to look outwardly. So I'm doing a whole rebrand, but the way I'm rebranding the business is I'm rebranding it in the way the business is positioned to the consumer. I've actually realized now that there was a huge disconnect between, obviously my face is on the brand is very much linked with everything that I do, but I've realized actually there was parts of my life or the way I was that was sort of missing from the brand.
Like what?
I guess like fashion, the way that I am. So I've realized, and also looking and comparing other similar brands products to me. So condiments, the condiment aisle is good because there's a lot of variety in the condiment aisle, but also it's stale in the way that I think Novice Kitchen can be the coolest condiment brand, but I haven't been relaying that message across. So I think really I cannot think of any other, in the UK anyway, I cannot think of any other either creator-led brands that are focusing on condiments, or I can't think of any condiment brands that I consider that, okay, that's a really cool brand. So now the way the brand is going to be positioned is not, let's say, lifestyle-y, but there's going to be a big element of like interlinking my life or lifestyle into the way the brand is portrayed, in the way we take the pictures, in the way the social media content is created, in the way the messaging is corrected. There needs to be a direct link. So that's what the whole rebrand and repositioning is going to be about. From the next like few weeks, you start seeing it slowly dripped in.
Nice. And when did you become more, I guess, like in tune with actually this needs to change? When did you realize it was sort of like hindering the progress of the business?
Well, I had a bit of an epiphany last week, pretty much. It was like 10 p.m. I was like at my desk and I was like, I don't know. I think this brand could be significantly cooler. I just thought, this needs to I have to have a complete overhaul of the way this brand is positioned. So that's what that was literally the epiphany. And I realized, and then I made a mood board of brands that I thought were really cool. And a lot of those brands are actually fashion brands.
Right.
But the way they take the images, and the big thing is, I'm an Arsenal fan, right? And I linked this to Arsenal. So Arsenal, when they announce players, the way they shoot the videos, the stories that they tell. And I just realized Novice Kitchen isn't telling good enough stories, and people are linked and they understand stories a bit more. So I just need to tell better stories, and I need to tell better stories in the way, in the clothes that I'm wearing when I'm filming stuff for Novice Kitchen, in the merch that we're going to create. So we make people, we want the brand to be an aspiring brand, so people want to be part of Novice Kitchen. They want to be a novice, and they want, and seeing that being a novice isn't necessarily a bad thing. So the imagery, the clothes that are associated with the brand, the recipes, everything has to be cooler, and sort of in the way that Arsenal tell their stories, because Arsenal have an understanding of the culture in the way maybe Kith might tell their stories. So that's where I thought there needs to be more of a connection.
Yeah. It's really beautiful that you're drawing inspiration from your passion outside of this and translating that into this, because even speaking to like other YouTubers that I think are really good, we had Toast and Victoria on 2 episodes ago, and she has amazing editing, and I was asking her like, where do you pull your inspiration from? And she said film. She was like, she'll take editing notes when she sees like a sick film, and then she'll be like, oh, this is what the transition looked like, and then she sort of keeps a diary of that.
That's
interesting. Yeah, really
it's
good tip.
tip.
So it's interesting how ideas and inspirations can be pulled from anywhere, but also we can weave it into verses where there's might not be like a direct correlation. So that's really beautiful, and you're actually making me think about this podcast and think about ways in my personal life that I can incorporate that into it, because I used to see for a long time as like 2 different entities, but actually it's like, it's Rayo with Rayo, it's me, it's you know what I mean, so why not? So
I agree. I agree for sure.
What has been your hardest novice moment as a founder?
The hardest, wow, this is actually quite tricky. Maybe this is where the naivety probably comes in a little bit, is that by nature I'm quite eternally optimistic person. So in terms of hardest, this is a hard question, because I really don't know, as in like I'm not like dodging the question, I just don't really, I don't really have like a moment where I've been like, wow, that was so difficult. Obviously there's been loads of stresses in terms of like cash flow, but it's sort of something that I signed up to, so I knew this was always going to be an issue. Obviously you don't know exactly how bad things are going to be, but I would say the hardest thing to do within the business is managing cash flow. There's not been one certain thing where I've been like, wow, this is really bad. But I think cash flow, understanding cash flow a bit better, managing when money's coming in, when it's going to go out, and like invoices being paid on time on your side, and from other people paying you your invoices on time. So that's probably been the hardest part in business for sure.
Let's turn the question around. What recent moment have you had where you felt like, oh, I've mastered this?
Okay. I would say probably recipe development and how quickly I can turn it around.
Oh, wow.
So recipe development of the products. So how quickly, pretty much now, I think I could probably turn around from having an idea for a product to having the product live and direct, probably within 2 weeks.
Wow.
For the product to go live. But then obviously things that take a bit longer in terms of like the testing, the shelf life, that takes a bit longer. But from ideation to creation, I can get that done within 2 weeks, for sure, because now I have an understanding of how production manufacturing can work and production limitations. I have an idea of how to scale things up a bit better now. So I think that probably would be the thing that I think I've got really good at mastering.
That's pretty impressive, because I would have thought it would have been the other way around, because there's so much like craft and intention that goes behind it. You would think, I would have thought that would be the longest, but maybe because you've been doing this for so long, and like you said, you cook every single day, it's almost just become like second nature.
Exactly. Well, I'll have imagined, so let's say, I don't know, if I go to Thailand tomorrow, in the whole period I'm in Thailand, I'm educating myself, I'm learning a little bit, I'm meeting new people. But then from when I'm like, okay, I want to create a Thai inspired flavor profile, I might have spent that whole period imagining the different flavors in my head, and then it might take me 3-4 different times to recipe test it, and then from that position to creating the product, it's really, really fast. But it's just a case of really imagining the sort of flavor profile that you want to get.
You incorporate a lot of visualization into your business, which is really interesting. And it's something that I'm very passionate about, and I do every single night. But is that something that is an intentional choice, or is it just second nature to you, where you just visualize how you want things to turn around, or you daydream a lot?
I don't daydream, to be fair, but I think a lot.
Okay.
So I got quite an active brain, in the sense that in the middle of the night I might get an idea that I can't stop thinking about, and I get a lot of creative ideas of things that I want to do, like, very often. I'd probably say I might get a new idea for a series, like a TV series, for example, or a new idea for a cooking series or a cooking show or a dating show or something, probably like maybe once a week. But I think it's really hard to then action them, because obviously I'm got to focus on this. But I try and make a note of these ideas, and then try and build up the ideas, or I ask people what they think of the ideas. I road test the ideas a bit. I'm like, I put in my group chat, do you think this is a good idea? And they're like, oh, you could do this instead, and then maybe I might work on it, or I might just park that to the side. But I get quite a lot of ideas, but I'm not actively thinking of the ideas.
It just comes to
you.
It
will come to me, and then I then might, from that moment, then start thinking of, okay, this has got potential to do something, or how can I link this random idea to Novice Kitchen? So I that it's almost like passive, but I do tend to think quite a lot rather than like daydream, for example.
Okay. LinkedIn seems to be something you're very active on, and you have been for a while.
Okay.
I was watching an interview with someone else, and she mentioned that Gary Vee said for TikTok people need to jump on it quite early, because it was going to be a huge platform where people can monetize their creativity. And there seems to be a lot of foresight with LinkedIn, where people are thinking, okay, actually start pitching, start shouting about what you do on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where it's at. A lot of my friends have also said to me, like, Rayo, do this on LinkedIn. But I've always had some apprehensions just because of what I do, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. But they do know in the office, and they're super supportive about it. But my question to you is, how did you become so confident in, like, just going on LinkedIn and, like you said, pitching yourself to multiple people and just throwing yourself out there?
Again, this is being just naive and not really caring, to be honest. I don't really care what people are gonna think or say or whatever, because at the end of the day, actually, it's my business. When it all boils down to it, it's really my business, so I can actually run it the way I think is best in that moment. And really, it's sort of my life. It is really like, it's my life. I'm not gonna let people sort of dictate how I'm gonna live it. So in that sense, I just would put what I want to put on there. But actually, it's interesting that you say that, because I don't really like LinkedIn from that perspective, because I have friends that are really, really good at LinkedIn. They'll do like a full-on essay every week. They write their ideas down. They might input their ideas in ChatGPT, and then that'll create the whole LinkedIn post for them. I post on LinkedIn when I'm interested in posting on LinkedIn. I'm not as active as other platforms on there, but I'm trying to become more active on there, because really that's where business is, because that's where the business people are, that's where the decision makers are, that's where the money is, really. So if you want to make money through your business, you need to post on LinkedIn. And I'm now trying to look at LinkedIn from a content creation side of things, rather than, this is my business. Because really there's no rules. No one's created a rule as in, there's probably rules as to this is the sort of post that does well on LinkedIn, but why can't I look at LinkedIn the same way I'm looking at Instagram? Why can't I post the same recipe videos? Because really the customers that are going to buy on LinkedIn, they're the same customers that are going to buy on social media, on TikTok, Instagram, whatever. So why can't I post recipe ideas? Why can't I post the launch? Why can't I post the rebrand? Why can't I do all these things on LinkedIn the exact same way? And also that just saves me a lot of time. And I think if I'm trying to make it cool, LinkedIn isn't necessarily considered cool. Why not just try and put it that way?
I think there just needs to be a perception shift, and also the type of content that you put out? Because like what you said, typically I would just assume it's like essays of people saying like what
they're
they've
great
done,
at,
and I've
yeah.
seen cringe stuff where it's like someone posts a cup of coffee and they make it into some
A
like
sales pitch.
I'm literally like, have a day off.
Yeah.
Like
I saw someone post from their wedding day the correlation between sales and getting their
I'm
wife
sorry,
on a wedding, and I was like, yeah, this is crazy.
No, it's actually
Yeah.
crazy. But
Have a day off. It's your wedding. Literally have a day off. There's one
One
day you
day.
might be allowed to remove yourself from being a hustle monster or whatever they're called.
know.
That's your wedding day.
And I think that's those type of content puts me off, and I think that's the perception that needs to be shifted, because actually there are also ways to do it in a cool way, and maybe there will be like resurgence of people that actually post on LinkedIn in a cool way that are more prominent on social media platforms. I think that's actually what's going to happen.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, because I'm getting ready to start posting on LinkedIn, but I truly want it to be done tastefully and not cringe, because I cringe at other people's stuff. So I'm like, actually, I need to be like, okay, I posted that and that's true to my tone. Yeah. But on LinkedIn, you also shared something quite interesting about investing and a story where you nearly got scammed when you were reaching out to an investor.
Yeah.
And I found that quite interesting, and also great that you shared that, because you might have probably saved another business owner that might have not even gotten to that stage of investing. So I have two questions for you. The first one is, okay, I'm sorry. The first one is, how have you found raising money for your business? And the second thing is, what's a misconception about investing that you were naive about or a novice about?
So in terms of the misconception, is you'd often think it's a little bit easier than it is, but it's really hard. When you're running a business and you're raising money, it's pretty much like having two jobs, because you are constantly outreaching to people. There's a lot of time wasting, there's a lot of decision making, but then you can't control other people's lives, because they might be super interested in investing in your business, but something might shift in their finances, something might shift in their day-to-day life, which then means that money they might have allocated to your businesses now have to be allocated to something, and you have to be empathetic about that and understand that side of the world. So you can't take anything personal when it comes to that. It's business regardless. You can't let that deter or break relationships, which I think people do, especially when you're trying to raise money from friends and family. You have to understand that. In terms of like that would probably be the biggest lesson that I learned. And then the first part of the question was,
how have you found raising money for investing in your business, or getting investors to invest in your business?
I think you've got to be able to tell a compelling story, which I really struggled with at the start, but I've got the sort of story right down to T now. You've got to inspire them to want to be interested in it. People, you might have friends that might give you a little bit of cash because obviously they believe in you, but at the end of the day, it's still a monetary decision, and it's their money that you're playing with. So you've got to be smart. You've got to have complete conviction in the fact that you are going to be able to grow this business and give them a return on their investment, because at the end of the day, most businesses do fail. So you have to have that assurance and confidence which way it is. And I think a key thing for me that's helped me is that when I first ever started the business, I made a promise that I would just never quit on the business or give up on the business, and I have to find a way of making it work, find different avenues of getting revenue to ensure that this business is stable and grows as much as possible. So that was a real key driving factor and a North Star when I first started the business. So as long as I'm able to stick within that line of thinking throughout, I feel like it's going to hold me in good stead in the next 10 years, whenever it comes down to it.
Yeah. You're currently raising money through the SEI scheme, right? And that's the Seed Enterprise Investment Scheme. How did you discover that scheme?
I discovered that through one of my other friends who runs a business, and then through like an incubator program I was on. And the scheme is super helpful because it helps new businesses, new startups. It de-risks a little bit investors' money, because you can get 50% of your money back as a rebate. So that was a key factor for people to basically, it's a scheme that the government brought in to help startups pretty much. So it de-risks maybe a high value investor who might be looking for a little bit of a tax break, or who wants to support your business because it's such a risky business. It's an incentive from the government to let people to invest in startups.
That's nice. That's a
It's
really
a
good,
really good scheme.
yeah.
A lot of people don't know about it, but it's super helpful. There's SCIS and there's EIS.
What's EIS?
EIS is pretty much the same thing, but it's a higher threshold of money.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. That's why I wanted to ask you, because I think sometimes there might be just ignorance based on like you actually don't know their systems in place to help you.
Yeah.
So it's important
There's
that,
a lot of systems, really good systems to help startups.
Nice, that people know. And where you at currently with Novice Kitchen? Like, do you have investors or?
Yeah, so we've got some good investors, with a lot of them friends and family. Majority of them are friends and family.
Okay.
So now I'm just trying to maximize how much I can, get them some, I don't know, dividends in the future, or eventually maybe sell some parts of the business. I don't know yet. It's still very early days anyway. But just want to make sure that they see a return on their investment for believing in Novice Kitchen at this stage, right? So I want to make sure that, okay, they're happy with it.
What do you need the most from people in this stage of your life and in your business?
Support. You got to support your friends, even if it's like a little repost, a little like. A lot of people don't really do that so much, but I'm lucky that a lot of my friends are super supportive. They'll post my stuff, they'll like, they'll comment, whatever it is. But a lot of support is probably the big thing that you need from friends and family. That would be the main thing. Just support. It takes a second, and it's free.
Yeah, and it goes a long way. It truly does.
It does.
I love that. What was it like getting listed in Ocado? I know you previously mentioned there was a 2-year wait, and was that sort of almost like an immediate moment for you? And have you had any, or do you feel like you're chasing that moment of just like triumph, really?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's interesting to use Ocado as an example, because I was looking forward to the Ocado thing so much. And I think initially that email that I received and they're like, yes, we'll stock you, or the phone call, I was like, wow, this is amazing, blah, blah, blah. I was like super excited. That was amazing. And then the time from when you get stocked to when you actually install, it takes about maybe like 12 weeks or something. Okay. So it takes a while. So by the time it was actually, when I saw it on the website, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. But then once that was done, I was like, oh wow, like is that it? It was a weird feeling, not of an anticlimax, but close to being an anticlimax. Like, wow, is that it? Which made me think, actually, you can't focus on necessarily that being the goal. You just sort of keep going, and yeah. So I think that was the main thing. But I'm so glad to be on Ocado. Like every time I look, I'm like, wow, this is an amazing achievement. You almost don't believe that that's your own product that is on there. But Ocado are amazing. They are so good at supporting up and coming businesses, and the people that the buyers, they've been super helpful. Like they find a way to make things work for you, especially navigating that whole space. So for that perspective, like it's insane to me. It's just amazing.
And what does the future of Novice Kitchen look like?
So the future looks like delicious products are going to make the life of kitchen novices amazing. And then maybe in the future, let's say 5-10 years time, we're going to cover every single thing that makes a kitchen life of a novice enjoyable. So it could be like really good quality knives, branded chopping boards, branded aprons, anything. But initially our offering to the market is through the product. So that was what I would say. That's the near future for Novice Kitchen.
And what does the immediate future look like?
For Novice Kitchen or for me?
Both, actually.
For Novice Kitchen, definitely into more locations, just to keep growing, either through the food service, so people using our products in retail, but also using them in like catering. So that's a really key focus, getting out to the masses. And then I guess for me, from a personal perspective, is to get like a regular daytime TV show presenting, and then that can help supplement the business, but also it can bring the message of helping kitchen novices to more people, for sure, I would say.
And when is the next supper club coming? And can I get an invite, please?
You can get an invite for sure. If I know when the next one is. I've been focusing a lot on the products, but a lot of the supper clubs I've been doing have mainly been private. Okay. So I think in terms of public one, probably maybe nearer towards springtime, because I find they're the best time to do it, because more people are around in London. It's more of an inside sort of thing. So probably towards spring, winter time. So yeah, whenever you're ready, You can come. You can check me out on Novice Kitchen at Novice Kitchen _ the novicekitchen.com, whatever. You find the information on there.
Nice. Before we wrap up into the final question, do you have any questions for me?
What is your dream guest?
Oh, okay. Do I have to say one or can I say a couple?
You can say 2.
Okay. Rihanna and Andy Cohen.
Andy Cohen. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good. Andy Cohen and Rihanna. That's what will he do the interviews then?
No, I feel like they're just like my two worlds colliding.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I'll say yeah.
Yeah.
It's good guess.
Cool. And how has cooking and like community building translated or transformed how you view relationships?
Massively, because there's actually they come hand in hand. Building relationships, because I'm actually a really independent person, super independent, but I've got relationships with a lot of people. But I think in terms of business, relationships are so important.
Yeah.
Because you really never know what a conversation might lead to. You might say something in passing to the right person who might just remember at the right moment with somebody else that they might combine both parties, like your need and their want together at the same time. So I think building those relationships, but obviously you're not just building relationships because you might get something out of something, but genuine relationships really drive things going forward. But you need to put yourself out there to build those relationships, and you never know what might come of it. I'm not saying go into relationships hoping that something will come of it. I'm just saying that building those relationships is super important for it.
And being organic about it.
Exactly.
As well. Yeah. Final question. At the end of each episode, I ask all my guests what their ikigai is. So I don't know if you know what ikigai.
Yeah, isn't that the thing that you're continuously working towards?
Yeah, it translates to your purpose of living, and it's a Venn diagram that consists of 4 questions. So I'll ask you these 4 questions, and you can just go rapid fire. Okay. What do you love?
Life right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are you good at other than making delicious condiments?
Being personable.
I get that. What can you be paid for other than your business?
Talking.
Because presenting.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you think the world needs?
People to listen to each other more. I
That's
think a lot of problems will be solved if they listened a bit more.
Open communication.
Yeah, because people have conversations so they can talk next, but you need to listen a bit more.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Great answer.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Niyi, for coming on the show, and thank you for your patience. This episode has been lengthy with different hiccups, but I appreciate you sticking through and being here.
No worries. Patience is key. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Also, I wish you a lot of luck with your podcast. You're a very good interviewer, actually, and you're a very good listener, which is what I noticed throughout, because your questions were leading on from what I was saying, so that's really, really good. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. See you soon, hopefully. Of course, definitely lunch. Amazing. Well, real ones, if you liked this video, please comment, share, subscribe, or leave me a rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I love you, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.